What's going on, guys? It is your friendly neighborhood dinosaurs here, coming at you guys with the first video of this year, probably the last. Today I want to talk about my top 10 movies of last year, 2015. It was a good year for movies, not as good as 2014. I kind of wish I made a video for 2014. That was probably the best year for movies in like 20 years, something like that. Insane year for movies. You had Nightcrawler, Whiplash, Gone Girl, Boyhood, The Theory of Everything, a lot of movies, really good movies came out. But we're talking about this year, or last year rather, 2015. Started off with number 10. A lot of you guys probably saw this movie, Mad Max. I'd gotten like 7 or 8 of my movies on this list, and I was just like, I can't think of another couple of movies that like really deserved to be on this list. So like honestly, like the final 3 aren't like, to me, like incredibly great movies like the other 7 or like however many there are. But Mad Max was a really good movie. It probably does deserve to be on the top 10 list. I'm sure a lot of people is like even further up than it is on mine. But it's definitely a great movie. All the practical effects and then the added in CGI to make the movie even better. Really a good job. And, you know, I'm really looking forward to the next one, to be honest with you. I'm hoping maybe Tom Hardy gets 3 lines this time as opposed to 2. That would be interesting. Next up, you got number 9. The Martian. Crazy movie. I saw this around when it came out, like maybe a week or 2 after it came out. It was really funny for a movie that's so morbid if you really think about it. Like a movie where this guy is stuck on Mars and like he's got like to survive for like 900 days or some shit, and like you know, with like no food. Like he's got enough food for like 300 days and he's got to survive for like 900 or something like that. Something crazy. And he's got to do that, and like he just has to science the shit out of this. Crazy stuff. That movie was really, really good. I don't know, it was really good seeing Matt Damon like really, really act. I'd seen him in The Departed also this year. I hadn't seen that movie before, and like seeing him act like his best, in my opinion, like he did in The Departed, was just cool to see again. So on to number 8. Ex Machina. Great movie. That movie was like, I just love a lot of indie movies that are like so like small in scale, but if you really think about it, like what they're talking about is like such a huge idea that like for them to talk about it in such like a small movie is like, I don't know, it's kind of incredible to like see them tackle such a big idea. In reality, what they're tackling in that movie is like what it means to be human, and you know, like by the end of the movie, you're like, damn, you know, that's kind of crazy. And so, if you guys haven't seen that movie, I know it was like that movie actually did pretty well, but I'm sure a lot of you guys probably haven't seen that movie. Check that movie out; it's great. Number 7, Star Wars. In the last like month and a half or so, I became like a really big Star Wars fan. Before then, I'd only seen the prequels. Like I'd never actually seen the original trilogy, but I was like, yo, Star Wars is about to come out. I gotta check out the original trilogy. So I checked out the original trilogy. I watched 4, even though like the first time I tried to watch 4, I like actually passed out. That movie is really slow, really fucking boring until you get to like the 45-minute mark when like Han Solo finally gets into that movie. It's really fucking boring. Episode 5 is the best movie in the series. Episode 6 is really good, but it also feels a little bit slow. But it's mainly just because they hold on to moments for what seems like forever. But, you know, overall, like a really good movie. But, you know, 4 is good, just slow for like 45 minutes. 5 is incredible. 6 is really good, but sometimes it feels a little bit slow. And it's not as good as 5. Episode 7 is probably like the second movie in the series that I think is actually a really, really good movie. Second to maybe 5, but I don't know. I probably need to see 7 again to like confirm or deny whether or not it's above 5 for me. But episode 7 was really cool. It was really crazy to me to like go to see that movie and not get fucking spoiled beforehand. Like to go into that movie assuming Finn was going to be the Jedi, and then find out that Rey was the Jedi. Like, that was crazy to me. Like I can't believe I went into that movie and didn't know that was going to happen. So that was pretty crazy. Incredible movie. I really loved it. Number 6. The Hateful Eight. So me and my friend, we saw this in 70 millimeter, and we thought it was going to be a big, really cool, extreme experience. We got the Hateful Eight, roadshow thing. Pretty good movie, incredible movie, really, really fun. Pretty long, 3 hours long, 3:20 or something like that, with like the intermission and like overture and all that bullshit. But that movie was so good. Only thing I didn't like about the experience was honestly the 70 millimeter, and I don't know exactly. I think I'm not even going to pretend to know exactly why, but basically I don't like that. Like, I just don't think there's a big enough IMAX screen near me. Like, they don't have a real legitimate IMAX screen near me, so I can't see the movie the way it's supposed to be seen, like the way Quentin Tarantino wanted you to see that movie. I don't think I was able to see it the way he wanted it to be seen. So I was a little bit disappointed in that, especially having to pay like $20 a ticket. That was a little pricey, especially when I had to buy 2 tickets to see the movie. But it was a great movie, and what happens right before the intermission, if you guys see this, it's right at the halfway point. Samuel Jackson's speech, that was crazy. That made the movie for me. If the entire rest of the movie was boring, which it wasn't, but if the entire rest of the movie was boring, that part would have saved it for me. On to number 5. We have Room. So Room, I really don't want to give too much away. Like, I honestly want you guys to see this movie. It's incredible. It's essentially got like 2 characters, a mom and a kid, and like you're kind of like with the kid's perspective the entire movie, which is interesting. And like you get these little dialogue pieces or like monologues from the kid, and like he's kind of like giving you his like perspective on the world, as his world is changing. Which I don't want to give anything away, but like like I said, like as his world is changing, and he's got like this very childlike view on the world, and it's incredible to like see that, or hear it through his through his mind. So that was an incredible movie. It actually made me cry at around like maybe like the halfway point or something like that. If you guys have seen the movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. But it actually made me cry, which was pretty crazy. Only like 2 tears though, so like not too crazy, but like 2 tears is pretty severe. Next up, number 4. Steve Jobs. This movie was crazy to me. I'd seen Jobs with Ashton Kutcher or whatever, and I really liked that movie. I know some people don't. I really like that movie though, so I was like, this movie's probably not going to be as good. I like Michael Fassbender, so I was like, it's probably going to be good, but like I don't think it can beat Steve or Jobs for me because I like that movie already. But I came into that movie and I was like, it was like 30 minutes in, and I'm like, why are we still in this like thing? And then it happens like basically the movie's in like 3 acts essentially, and like basically what happens is like you're at one event, then you're at another event, and then you're at another event, and like everything is like beforehand, like everything that happens before the event. So like you see all this stuff that like leads up, like all these arguments that Steve has with people before the event, which was just really entertaining. Like such a good movie. All the movie's essentially all dialogue, like nothing else happens but dialogue, and you're still like on the edge of your seat, like biting your fingernails, like what's happening. It's such a good movie. Like for you to be able to have just dialogue and people still be on the edge of their seats, that's when you're a good writer, and like when you're directing this stuff really good. So good job to Aaron Sorkin and Danny Boyle or David Boyle, whatever the fuck his name is. Anyway, great job, great movie. Number 3. Okay, getting into the big boys. The Revenant. Okay, I have not seen this in theaters yet. I just watched a screener. But I really can't wait to see it in theaters, because this movie, even on like the low quality screener that I was watching, was beautiful. And I don't know why I would expect anything less, because it's from the same director and same director of photography, more importantly, from Birdman, which was also like probably the most like visually interesting movie of last year, just because it was entirely one shot, or at least for all intents and purposes, it was a one shot, which was because it blew my mind last year. Like seriously, blew my fucking mind. This movie has a lot of one shots as well, like just a ton of stuff where like you're just in one singular shot for like a minute or 2, or like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, something like that, and it's crazy to look at. And like the entire movie was shot with just natural light. Really good movie. Leonardo DiCaprio, like seriously, like in case you didn't think he deserved an Oscar for like the rest of his performances, you know, like this guy just continuously gets snubbed. Obviously, like it's a broken record at this point. But this movie, he essentially has like 5 lines, but but even without lines, he depicts all of the emotion and like all of the hardship that he's going through with just his facial expressions, which was mind blowing. Like, um, crazy fucking movie, dude. I don't want to give anything away. Just go watch that movie as soon as it comes out in theaters or whatever however you're gonna see it, because that movie was seriously so good. And Leonardo DiCaprio's performance, even Tom Hardy's performance, were like both of their performances were so good, and like the cinematography was mind blowing, dude. That movie is beautiful. Okay, number 2. This movie I thought was going to be my favorite movie of the year up until I saw my number 1. And even like after I saw my number 1, I was still like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can give it away. So number 2, this movie was my favorite movie for like a good portion of the year, and that's Dope. You got 3 kids growing up in like Compton or whatever the fuck, like the Bottoms in LA or something. And so they go to a really bad school, and like they're 90s hip hop nerds, and I don't know, they're just kind of like nerds in high school kind of thing. They just end up going through a huge, incredible adventure that like seriously blows your mind and is so funny, and yet like still has an incredible message by the end of the movie. Honestly, this movie, if you guys have seen Everybody Hates Chris, it felt to me like me and my friends when we walked out of the movie theater, and everybody who I watched the movie with afterwards always says like it feels like a 2-hour-long episode of Everybody Hates Chris, and I love Everybody Hates Chris. So if you guys like that, check it out. And for my number 1 movie of the year, Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. This movie I thought would have had like no competition for best cinematography at the Oscars until I saw The Revenant. I think The Revenant will win. But Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl has really good cinematography too. Like fun, interesting, different cinematography that you don't see in other movies. Like when I was watching The Revenant, not that I think this movie has better cinematography in the end, but The Revenant's cinematography was basically, you know, Birdman cinematography, but in the woods. And that's obviously going to be the case when you're watching a movie that is, the director of photography is the same guy who did another movie. But this movie was inventive and different and interesting, and had so much cool stuff with the cinematography. Like everyone who I watch it with is just like, wow, this movie is really beautiful. So, but that is not it. The story, for the first like 45 minutes of this movie, you will not have a smile. You will not have a smile on your face. You're going to be smiling the whole time. And then like it's, you know, like it starts to get really serious, you know, like it's about a dying girl. So, you know, you'd think it might get a little bit serious at some point. It does. It's pretty sad. I also cried in this movie. And it's just a great movie. Like everybody I watch it with just loves it. And honestly, that's one of the things that goes into me picking my favorite movies of the year, is the movies that I can continuously watch over and over and over again with different people, or even by myself. Like I have literally watched Whiplash 31 or 32 times at this point, and I watched it for the first time like just over a year ago. I watch it very often. It's just really fun for me to like share movies with people, like to see their first impressions or like their reactions to things that happen in movies that made me cry or made me sad or made me happy. And so I really like to share those experiences with people. And like for Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl, Dope, I've watched those movies like maybe close to 10 times each already, and I only watched those like for the first time over the summer. So all the movies on here are just my opinions. Let me know what you guys are down in the comment section below, and I will probably not see you again.